A powerful storm system, the remnant of Typhoon Halong, caused catastrophic destruction in the western Alaska, leaving communities cut off from the world, home destroyed, and the coastline reported the hurricane-force wind and a high wave. The rare event, which occurred over the weekend, was described by officials as the most powerful September storm in Alaska history. The National Weather Service reported with a gust exceeding 145 km per hour, combined with an unprecedented storm surge that flooded coastal town from Nome to Harbor Bay. Entire roads disrupted under seawater, and hundreds of residents were forced to evacuate. Rising tides flooded their home. "We have never seen anything like this," said Jacob Aana, mayor of Golovin, where dozens of homes were swept their foundation. "The ocean just carried out. It swallowed everything." Satellite images show that large selection of Alaska west coast have been completely transformed. Beaches have been eroded, and entire villages have been temporarily cut off. Thousands of people were left without power, and communication lines were disrupted in remote areas for the complication rescue operation. This storm had the energy of a typhoon combined with the Arctic cold, explained climatologist Dr. Megan Fisher. The warning of Pacific Ocean is creating new extreme weather conditions that even experienced Alaskans not prepared for. Emergency crews and the Alaska National Guard were disrupted and delivered food, water, and generation to affected towns. The Federation Emergency Management Agency promised rapid federal support while local volunteers continued to search the missing pets and personnel belonging to debris streets area. Residents described waves over the 5 meters heights crashing against coastal definitions, boats being down edge hole like toys. Videos circulated online showed torrents of water rushing through the streets, carrying pieces and ice and debris. As the storm finally reckoning over the Arctic Ocean, officials warned to that recovery that would take months. "It's not longer our community storm," said Nome residents Anna Perez, standing in the ruins of their home. "But the storm was changing the Alaska, it has changed us." The destruction left behind by the Typhoon Halong and the stark reminder of high climate change is intensified in extreme weather events reaching over the most remote corners of the planet. On Wednesday, the Alaska coast bridged the more rain and wind after destruction storm destroyed two small inglorious villages, killing at least one person and leaving more than 1,400 people homeless. Over the weekend, the reminder of a Typhoon Halong swallowed into the remote communities of Yukon-Kulish Delta in the southwestern parts of the state, bringing strong winds, rain, and record storm surge that washed away some homes. The Coast Guard rescued dozens of people from their homes after the buildings were washed out at sea. At least one person died and 2 are missing. The communities in Kipnak, with a population of 715, and Kiwigor, the population of 318, were hardest hit with every home damaged by the storm. The situation of Kinpak is catastrophic. "Let's not attack coast," the Mark Robert left the State Emergency Operations Center said during the press conference on Tuesday. "We are doing everything we can to continue to support this community, but the situation is bad, as you can imagine," said official. Acknowledged the people are suffering and has said they are working as quickly as can. "We need to provide people with a safe place where they can warm up, eat, and get help. We are working quickly to this, but it takes time." More than 1,500 people across the region have been left homeless. Dozens of people have flown their shelters set up in the National Guard Armory, the regional center of battle, home of 6,000 people, and authorities are considering transporting evacuated to home, long-term shelters and temporary housing to Freiburg and Anchorage. Home those waiting by evacuated to Bethel on Tuesday, and a brief Paul of King Park, who was wrote a text message on the Saturday night that saw about 20,000 floating on a mountain line. Paul and her neighbors held a long meeting at social school gym on a Monday evening. They sang songs as they described to do it. She said, "Push through it to go." It's hard too much to say goodbye to a member in our community without knowledge we have, see each one again said. About 60 miles from Quingelog, a 60-year-old Eva Moller was found dead on a Monday evening. Authorities called to the search of two men those home washed away. After they said that through the extensive search using drones, boats and planes. This is a decision that no one in the wash up to make. Western Alaska is reeling after the remains of Typhoon Halong come through the coastal line, unleashed in record-breaking winds, massive waves and catastrophic flooding. Entire communities have been left under current disabled. The meteorologists are calling the most violent storm to strike Alaska in decades. The storm, which transformed from the typical typhoon into the powerful extratropical cyclone, slammed it into the Bering Sea coast with the sustained winds up to 116 km/h, and the storm surged in opposite sea waters more than 10 feet island. Towns including Nome, Golovin, Hopper Bay and a sheltered lake suffered the worst of the devastation. A witness described a terrified scenes of entire section of shoreline, reshaped homes floated away and finished boats that smashed to pieces. "I feel like the end of the world," said Martina Nurel, residents of Golovin. Officials say hundreds of homes have been damaged or destroyed. In Nome, one of Alaska's largest western statements, flooded swept through the historic downtown, leaving vehicles submerged and power lines torn apart. The National Weather Service confirmed that water levels were the highest ever recorded since 1968. Governor Mike Dunleavy declared a statewide disaster, mobilizing the Alaska National Guard to deliver emergency aid supply to isolated communities. Rescue operations have been hindered, the washed-out roads to continue hide west. This storm was rendering the map of Alaska west coast an emergency, officials say. Scientists warn that the warming official temperatures are making such extreme storm more likely in the northern latitudes. This washed just coastal from the climatologist Dr. Laura Heaney. There was a collision of Pacific Typhoon and Air Quartz climate driver superstorm. Residents now facing during the task on rebuilding and temperatures begin to drop toward freezing. Many homes were without heat and local schools and saving temperature shelters. Volunteers and an emergency crew continue clearing debris while the relief organization work to restore clean water and electricity. For many, Alaska's and disaster feel like a touring port. We had the storm before. This week, a powerful storm swept across much of Alaska, bringing hurricane-force winds, coastal waves, and a dramatic glacier collapsed a flooded low-lying area in the state capital. Emergency service working throughout the night and clear roads, restore power, and reinforce riverbanks with the community's assessment the damage. In January, a long-awaited breakup of the Mediterranean glacier caused meltwater to flow into the Mid-Hill River, leading to record-high water levels that flooded yards and damaged small bridges. Authorities announced that a hospitably constructed system of temporary barriers protected hundreds of homes from much worse damage, and the residents are urged to follow evacuation instructions to weather warning. For the west and across south-central Alaska, storms wind knocked down trees, power lines, and forces of cancellation and flights and ferries. In Anchorage, a surrounding area's crew responded to dozens of wind-related incidents, and thousands of people were briefly left without power, and key transportation links were disrupted. This week, Alaska was hit by a rare fire wind, and the broad hurricane-force winds, heavy rain, and dramatic gales breakup resulted in billions of dollars of meltwater rising down the rivers in the state capital, Juneau. The system caused significant damage from the inside, passage on the south-central communities, forcing people to evacuate, halting ferry service, and leaving thousands without power. In Juneau, a sudden release of water from Suicide Basin above the Mid-Hill glacier caused the record rise in the river level significantly exceeded previous night. City officials, with the support of federal agencies, installed the miles of temporary barriers, including Hesky-type earthworks and southern walls, with the officials said prevented much more damage in the hundreds of priority through road, riverbanks, and the small bridge were ordered to damaged by debris. Residents were temporarily evacuated, with the emergency service monitoring the rapidly changing water levels. Elsewhere, hurricane-force wind uprooted trees, tore off roofs, and damaged power lines in the Anchorage and in neighboring areas. In the West, meteorological are monitoring an unusual August atmospheric river heading toward the Seattle area that could bring heavy rain in a fire-affected area to mountain terrain. For firefighters, that rain double-edged sword, it can help extinguish active fires, but also increasing the risk dangerous runoffs, mudslides, and rapid rise in water level in small streams. Authorities have urged caution to flood-prone cyclone and reminded residents living near the affected areas to be alert to changing conditions. Climatologists say this season activity in the parts and broad patterns, a rising sea surface temperature, and unusual atmospheric conditions to increasing to falling storms and may be changing to nature of precipitation, making heavy downpour more common in increasing the danger to the coastal area. The NOAA seasonal forecast continued to predict increasing tropical activity this year, reminding communities to need the rainfall evacuation plans, secure board and unsecured outdoor items to prepare emergency kits. Investments in resilience infrastructure, from improving urban drainage to stable rivers coastal defense, are becoming to operational priority as emergency services seek to balance immediate response to long-term adaptation. This week, a complex of change in the weather system swept across the United States, causing separate but related nozzles from the tropical Atlantic and the Pacific Northwest coast in the glacier of Alaska. Forecasts are tracking the rapidly intensified tropic system in the Atlantic and unusual August atmospheric rivers heading toward the Cascade Mountains and the dramatic glacier-like outbursts from the inundated part of the city of Juneau. Each of these events dramatically demonstrated how different elements of the climate system can combine exacerbating local risks. Atlantic Erin rapid intensification and wide-range marine impact. Tropical storm Erin had rapidly intensified it moved across the warm waters of the Atlantic and forecast to become a hurricane later in the week.